For over 2 decades, Carrie Bradshaw has been one of television's most recognizable characters, the voice of an era and the embodiment of both fabulous fashion and complicated romance. Sarah Jessica Parker first stepped into Carrie's iconic Manolos in 1998, when Sex and the City premiered on HBO and instantly changed the cultural conversation around women, dating, and independence in New York. Now, after 6 original seasons, 2 films, and 3 more seasons of the revival series, and just like that dissolving into melodrama. But still, saying goodbye to this character after playing her off and on since the late 90s was an emotional moment that overwhelmed even her. The finale itself found Carrie alone in her home, once again draped in tulle, dancing to Barry White and reminding the audience that this woman, for all her flaws, mistakes, and messy decisions, has always been strong enough to stand on her own. It was meant as a happy ending, but one laced with bittersweet feelings, not only for viewers, but for Parker herself, who admitted she wasn't sure what the ending really meant, and maybe wouldn't for a long time. She said that choosing to end the show was a decision she and showrunner Michael Patrick King made together. They felt that this was where Carrie's story needed to stop, even if there were still endless ways to keep the coffee shop conversations and high-heeled struts through Manhattan going. For Parker, it was about honoring the character and not dragging her along endlessly for the sake of nostalgia. But looking back, and just like that has always been divisive. From its very first episode in 2021, it sparked debate, mockery, love, hate, and above all, conversation. Critics called it a hate watch, yet audiences couldn't stop tuning in. Headlines even summed up the mood with phrases like, "No, the show I hate is ending." And that might be the perfect summary of this spin-off's strange hold on pop culture. The show attempted to update Sex and the City for middle age, reintroducing 3 of the 4 core characters, Carrie, Charlotte, and Miranda, while Kim Cattrall Samantha remained absent. In their place, 4 new characters of color were introduced in an attempt to modernize the ensemble. But the execution often faltered, and critics pointed out that many of these characters seemed more like accessories to the main trio rather than protagonists in their own right. By the 3rd season, 2 of them, Karen Pittman's Naya and Sarah Ramirez's Che Diaz, had already been written out, a fact that underlined how unevenly their storylines were handled. Even the tone of the series never seemed consistent. It began with shocking tragedy, the death of Carrie's husband Big, who suffered a heart attack on a Peloton bike, plunging the first season into what some called a grief-com. Later seasons bounced back toward lighter, sillier storylines, but always with a wobble. There were moments that were deeply awkward, and even Parker herself admitted she didn't know how to process all of them. Still, she remained protective of the character she'd embodied for so long, describing Carrie as wiser now, less naive, and more comfortable with the hard questions of life. She said Carrie carries her years with dignity, without cynicism, bitterness, or anger. Of course, Carrie Bradshaw is not without flaws. Parker acknowledged that her character had made plenty of bad decisions, the infamous affair, poor financial management, questionable choices in men, yet she insisted that none of this made Carrie undeserving of love. If anything, what stood out most was Carrie's devotion to her friends and commitment to her career as a writer, which Parker felt was often overlooked in the glamorous swirl of fashion and romance. Still, the revival brought as many cringe-inducing moments as it did heartfelt ones. Who can forget Carrie peeing into a plastic bottle while Miranda hooked up with Che in the kitchen? Or Charlotte stumbling onto an art installation only to emerge with a condom stuck to her face? The show leaned into humiliation, treating its characters' aging bodies as running jokes. Across 3 seasons, viewers saw prostate cancer storylines, vertigo attacks, deodorant mishaps, and sexual disasters that reduced beloved characters to punchlines. Many critics argued that And Just Like That was almost hostile to its own legacy, clowning the characters instead of celebrating them. It reflected a deeper cultural unease with aging and physicality, one that felt out of place for a show that had once been about empowerment, desire, and the thrill of adult independence. And yet there were defenders. Some fans admitted they enjoyed the ride, at least in the first 2 seasons. They loved Seema's energy, Anthony's romance, Charlotte and Harry's family chaos, and even Carrie's outrageous outfits. For them, the revival still captured some of the breezy fun of the original, even if it lacked the sharp wit. But almost everyone agreed that the 3rd season fell apart, and much of that was due to the return of Aidan. John Corbett's beloved Carpenter re-entered Carrie's life not for a nostalgic cameo, but for a drawn-out, toxic, rule-ridden relationship that dominated the final episodes. Fans who had long accepted that Carrie and Aidan's story had ended in the original series felt betrayed by its resurrection. Their reunion was joyless, suffocating, and ultimately destructive to both characters, and critics blasted it as pandering to fan nostalgia at the expense of real storytelling. The final season became, in the eyes of many, one of the worst missteps in TV revival history. What had been flawed but fun turned into something actively painful. Instead of moving forward, and just like that, trapped its characters in the amber of their pasts, unable to evolve, weighed down by nostalgia. Carrie and Aidan's endless drama consumed what little narrative momentum was left, leaving audiences frustrated and exhausted. For some, it tainted not only the revival, but even their memory of the original romance. As for the legacy of And Just Like That, opinions are split. Some think it will fade into cultural oblivion within a decade, forgotten by future Sex and the City fans who will be shocked to discover there was ever a Samantha-less continuation. Others believe it will remain in memory for its outrageous, ridiculous moments. Che Diaz's comedy concert, Charlotte's hallway obsession, or the finale's surreal image of a frantic toilet flush. What's clear is that it never matched the groundbreaking impact of Sex and the City, which once redefined television with its unflinching look at single women navigating life, love, and sex in New York. The original series was bold in its cynicism, opening with Carrie declaring that no one has breakfast at Tiffany's anymore, only affairs they wish to forget. It was about the indignities of dating, the risks of vulnerability, and the cost of desire. Over time, that sharpness softened under commercialism, luxury, and romance, but it remained unforgettable. And Just Like That tried to rekindle that magic while also atoning for past sins, addressing issues of diversity, inclusion, and representation. But in doing so, it often felt clumsy, out of touch, and painfully self-conscious. Still, Sarah Jessica Parker stood by the experience. She insisted that working with new cast members like Sarita Choudhury and Nicole Ari Parker was enriching, and she defended the show's attempts to expand its world. She also admitted that she never saw Carrie ending up with Aidan, no matter how much fans fantasized about it. For her, Carrie ending alone, heel still on, whimsical and ridiculous as ever, was the truest way to leave the character. She said she feels good about Carrie's future, imagining her life rich with friendships, culture, travel, and joy. So what do we take away from And Just Like That? Maybe it's that revivals are always risky, that bringing back beloved characters is a delicate balancing act between honoring the past and daring to tell new stories. Maybe it's that sometimes endings are necessary, even when audiences are still watching, even when the conversations are still loud. For some fans, Sex and the City ended with the first movie. For others, it ended with Big's death. And for a few, it ends now, with Carrie dancing alone in her apartment, still fabulous, still complicated, still Carrie. Whatever you choose, the truth is that Carrie Bradshaw has been with us for more than 25 years, and saying goodbye, even in this messy, awkward, imperfect form, is harder than we expected. Because whether we loved it, hated it, or loved to hate it, And Just Like That kept us talking, kept us watching, and kept Carrie Bradshaw alive just a little longer.